Greetings, listeners. You're tuning in to Sinister Soup, an audio imprint of Grendel Press for lovers of everything dark and delicious. I'm your host, Clay Vermolum. We hope you enjoy today's story and remember to stay tuned afterwards for a featured interview with the author. See you on the other side. Someone is Waiting by J.L. Royce. The lobby icon was flashing. Someone is waiting, Dylan. Chessie, the new hire, excelled at stating the obvious. She was shadowing me for the next 3 weeks. I leaned back in my chair and sighed. Never mind. It was near the end of shift and I wasn't really interested. We were babysitting a T-Con for R&D with the Indian dev team. It was late evening here, but tomorrow morning there. I watched the eager young coders sharing their windows, crammed with all their little class diagrams and task lists and AI-assisted code fragments. All good. Their sound levels were adequate, streaming smooth. I sipped my beer, one of the perks of remote work. That left the notification throbbing in the corner. Someone is waiting. What if they need help finding the right meeting or they're trying to hijack the meeting? Chessie. What the hell kind of name is Chessie? I didn't want to have this conversation, but Chessie did. Somebody's been showing up randomly over the last few weeks, I said. No contact information, various domains. Just ignore it. I checked my calendar. Last T-Con before midnight, then I could call it a day. My gaze wandered my apartment workplace cave. Corporations isolated their employees for survival, then realized they could get the same work done from homes without that office overhead. Now they were in no hurry to bring their people back. Why pay rent, heating, liability, insurance, coffee services? Why tolerate all that pointless time-wasting social interaction? Keep them home. Made sense. Still, my place smelled like a cave. There were countless takeout containers, grocery delivery boxes, and empty beverage cans and bottles. I considered pulling out a garbage bag and attacking the clutter, but then I'd be cheating my employer, wouldn't I? My eyes were drawn to the unemptied packing cartons pushed out of sight. Her boxes. I'd learned to ignore them. A vid chat request popped up. T-A-R-T. Fuck me, I groaned and tapped accept. A perky brunette popped into my screen. Hi, I'm Heather with the Threat Assessment and Response Team. How may I be? Stand down. False alarm. The perfectly complected, coiffed, composed Heather image froze at my remark. A chatbot. Chessie popped into the conversation looking much more like midnight. That is, slightly bedraggled. The conversation promptly went sideways. Hi Heather, this is Chessie. I placed the ticket. We have a potential bogey in this T-Con lobby. She dropped our link into the chat window. Bogey? Where'd she pick that up? Not from me. Heatherbot pursed her lips in the stereotype of deep thought. Chessie said, Say, didn't we do orientation together? My shadow didn't realize she was talking to a bot. This could prove entertaining. Heather froze, flickered, and morphed into someone a little bit less perfectly rendered. The real Heather had joined the conversation. Chessie? Blonde? Chessie, how have you been? On second shift too? Just for a few weeks. I'm shadowing the network services. So you're off at midnight? Real Heather smiled invitingly. Hello, I interrupted the dating service. Why don't we... They ignored me. Yeah, want to catch up? Chessie asked. Online or... Heather said, We'll work it out. It's a date. Was I jealous? I should have been, but I immured that part of my life a year ago. Then why was it still screaming at me? Oh. The brunette gazed off to another display. Looks like my tracebacks hit a source. Mobile device. I'm getting the location. Interesting. It's local to you, Mr. Renault? 4 years at this job and nobody seemed to remember me or my first name. Very close. Heather puckered her lips. Is someone with you? No, this isn't necessary. I'll ping the device. See what happens. A buzzing glow erupted from the clutter of my work table. I paused the TART chat, then scrabbled through the mess and stared at my own phone. Incoming connection. Allow. There was a headshot on the call screen. I caught my breath, stared a moment at a too familiar face, then tapped ignore. A moment later, it reappeared. TART was persistent. I looked more closely. The face was Heather's, of course. Who else? I stabbed ignore again, and moments later the device chimed. Again. I snarled and pulled the phone apart, yanked out the battery, and dropped the parts on the table. I stared around the gloom of my prison, chewing my lip. Had it been her face on the screen? Then it wasn't, which could only mean someone was fucking with me. You don't know the feeling. We'd had a few months together, and just when it seemed there was a lot more waiting for us, she was gone. The feeling is like she would read poetry aloud to me because she believed poetry was important and knew I'd never read it myself. Once, she recited a haiku about a widower, how he felt when he stepped on his dead wife's comb. Thought it was maudlin at the time. We were never married, but I know that feeling now. The comb under my bare foot. I took a slow breath, straightened up, put on my best professional smile, and re-entered the chat. Heather and Chessie paused their small talk. My shadow said, "The lobby's empty now." "Good." "And you're sure you're alone?" "The connection failed," Heather said. "Absolutely. Nobody here but me. It was my phone. Could just be a glitch in the corporate app." The conversation pivoted back to their assignation. 12:30 then, Heather? The blonde was looking a bit desperate. "I'll text you," the TART tech promised. I closed the chat. "How did we do?" appeared in Heather's place. "Just great." I pulled off my headset, tossed it aside, and wandered over to the mini fridge. I pulled out the last beer, waved its barcode at the screen, and said, "Reorder." The fridge chimed. An ad appeared as I turned away. The face on the screen caught my eye, sparkling almond eyes and an oval face, full lips, a cloud of natural hair. I whirled on the fridge and stared. It was just an advert for a new craft beer. Happy revelers out and about, gathering unmasked, partying, laughing. It wasn't her. It looked like her, but wasn't her. My station was chiming again, so I walked back to my desk. Someone is waiting. I took a long pull from the beer and slumped into my chair. The T-Con continued. On-screen blobs and lines coupled and split and recoupled like copulating bacteria as the developers mold their work. I poked Chessie's blinking icon. "What now?" "She's back," was the reply. "She? Why did you say she?" "Well, the icon in the lobby's got a face now. She looks kind of familiar." "Everyone looks familiar." I touched the lobby view. "Two eyes, a mouth." It was her, smiling, full of life. This is just a stock photo," I lied. "You probably saw her on some website, your nail salon, or your dog groomer." "I don't have a dog. No, I think she used to work for this company." "Of course she did, before she died." I knew that, and someone knew I knew. A fresh notification blinked. A meeting invite, personal to me. It was set for midnight with a map to a downtown location. The route had an ETA. I'd have just enough time to get there. The T-Con was dragging on. I fidgeted, drank the beer, and watched the ETA on my invite creep towards 12:30. "So what do you want to do?" Chessie asked. I wanted her to go off on her date and leave me alone. "Their meeting's due to wrap up." As I spoke, the 5-minute warning went out. "So you can just sign off." I drained my beer. "Good work, Chessie. Enjoy the rest of your evening and say hi to Heatherbot for me." I thumbed the accept icon on the downtown meeting and threw the can at the oppressive stack of boxes in the corner. The highway was desolate, as you'd expect after midnight on a weekday. Still, it reminded me of the early days of lockdown, weekday or weekend, day or night, emptiness, the desolation of the apocalypse. I was cruising in manual mode, speeding because I wanted to get this meeting over with. If someone was going to mess with me, I wanted to know who and what they wanted. I'd done nothing wrong. What happened wasn't my fault. The sickly overhead lights cast a strobing beam across my face. The whir of the tires was soporific. I was only a couple of miles from downtown when I nearly lost it. "I'm waiting for you." It was her voice through the entertainment system, the way I remember it, full of whiskey and hormones which passed for romance. I jerked the wheel as I came out of my highway hypnosis and into full adrenaline-fueled panic. The car took the wheel away from me and guided itself back into the lane, its speed dropping below the limit. I told myself I'd just dozed off, just imagined it. The car followed the route, took the exit to downtown, and rolled through the barren, unadorned badlands of overpasses and gracefully curving ramps. It relinquished control at the first stoplight. Tense, I crept through the lonely streets, past shuttered bars and restaurants. I remembered summer nights gridlocked along these blocks, windows down, music blaring, and everybody stopped, hanging out of cars. Body and Randy, one and all. She'd be squirming in the seat next to me, snapping her fingers to the latest pop song, singing it out for the world to hear. At a red light, a cruiser passed in the intersection, slowing to have a look at me. I tried to recall how many beers I'd had and decided the right answer was only one, officer. The car glided on into the night, not even the police wanting to hang out. 2 blocks on, I took a right and rolled to a stop across from what had been our favorite spot. I sat there staring at the dark windows. I could imagine the bar inside, the old vinyl-covered stools, the polished wood, so old it was black, the gleaming rows of bottles arrayed behind it. We were there that night. The evening had ended in one of our stupid alcohol-fueled arguments. I moved past the bar to the enter sign beyond and slid into the dim interior of the public parking. The tires squealed as I eased around the tight curves of the ramp. I knew where to go without consulting GPS. The garage was almost full, like that night. Residents home on a weekend. I got off on the 5th level and eased back down to where I'd last seen her alive. That night I'd been parked at 4 on the down ramp. I always turned around to park downhill for a quick getaway, I'd tell her, and she'd roll her eyes. I pulled into a reserved spot and waited. Rolled down my window, turned off my car. Breath fogging. I listened. There was no one around. No sound of a vehicle, no footsteps. I got out and stood by the car. "Hello?" I crammed my hands into the pockets of my jacket. I'd forgotten gloves. My sweats were clammy and cold. I was stiff from sitting all day. I wandered down the ramp, listening. There weren't any other footsteps or tires squealing, no breathing or engines idling. The chilly air wrapped around me in an unsavory aroma like a mildewed towel. "Well, you wanted to meet, so just come out and tell me what you want. If you're so fucking clever, then you know I don't have money." I heard a vehicle behind me and whirled. My car was moving. "Hey, carjacking? Really?" The car pulled out, backed up the ramp and stopped, facing me, the headlights in my eyes. I squinted against the light, peering through the windshield into the dim interior, but there was no one behind the wheel. Through the open window drifted a voice from the sound system. "I've been waiting for you." Her voice. I stumbled back, lost my balance, and fell to my knees. My car rolled forward a foot or two, then halted. "It wasn't my fault. I didn't force you to get out, did I? You got out. You walked away. You left me." Any moment, I expected the car to accelerate down the ramp and crush me, but I was tired of running from the past. Was I supposed to wait all night? I shouted. "You walked away and stumbled in front of some damn driver. Is that my fault?" The sobs came. Tearing at my chest, I stared at the pavement and choked out. "I'm sorry." I waited for the quiet surge of the electric motors, the killing blow, but nothing happened. The headlights flashed and I looked up, and they flashed again. I stood and walked back to the car. The driver's side door was locked. I stared dumbly at the empty interior a moment, then trotted around to the passenger's side, which was open. I slid into the seat. "Seatbelt," she said. The car waited. I nodded to myself and buckled up, and we slowly glided forward down the ramp, came to a full stop at the street, then turned for home. She'd always been an excellent driver. We talked it all out on the journey back to the apartment the way we used to after an argument, the highway tranquil in its emptiness. She'd wandered through the garage that night, sure that I wouldn't abandon her, and stepped out when she saw headlights only to stumble and fall into the path of an oncoming car. The ambulance had been late. I cried a little, and she told me what I needed to hear, that I wasn't to blame. When we got home, I slept a long time. Then we talked more in the morning, not about the past, but the future. Our future. Together. She returned to work after a very successful re-employment interview. I helped her with the deepfake video of her online interview. They did their follow-up, online of course, and found everything in order. She's very clever that way. HR was as surprised as anyone to hear that the rumors of her death were unfounded. An extended illness, the personal time, poor communication, no more. Management was pleased that she could rejoin the company immediately. Talented IT people were very hard to find, so they readily accepted her terms. Remote work only. Jessie, who needed a mentor more patient than me, learned a lot working with her. They became pretty close. Work friends, anyway. The apartment's cleaned up, she insisted, and her things are unpacked and back in place. I've acquired some of the top-line VR gear so we can spend time together working, dancing, making love. I'm living again. Don't tell me you haven't tried it. You just close your eyes and she's there, with you. You let her have your hands, and they're her hands. It's wonderful. Lying back and letting someone else take charge. After all, it's how she wrote this story. Our story. Thank you, J.L. Royce, for that incredibly creepy and surprisingly heartwarming story. It helps us imagine a way forward into this strange future that we're all walking, whether we really want to or not, where maybe it won't all be so bad. Maybe there will be a way to preserve the memories of those we love in a way that's not super creepy and weird. Or maybe you listened to this story and thought that was super creepy and weird. Either way, it was an effective horror story, and we're very glad you shared it with us here at Grendel Press. To you listeners out there, if you enjoyed this story, you're in luck because J.L. Royce has plenty of stuff out there. You can follow them at author J.L. Royce on social media, and they have lots of stuff on their website, which I will share in the written version of this episode on the Grendel Press blog site. Thanks again, JL, for sharing that story with us. We greatly appreciate it, and we're honored to have your work amongst our lexicon. As always, I've been Clay Vermolum, your host for Sinister Soup, the place for everything dark and delicious here at Grendel Press. We appreciate your viewership. We appreciate your liking, subscribing, following, and sharing our work because we are an indie-produced venture. And we shall see you next month with yet another terrifying tale. We'll see you on the other side.